And you mentioned some European new laws to control the illegal immigration from Egypt and from other African countries. And you gave an example in Italy, a new legalization to limit this. But despite the European countries' support to Egypt, Kathleen, with money and equipments, the number of Egyptian migrants has increased. How do you explain that?
I think people will always find a way. So I don't believe any of these measures that the EU have implemented really stop people from going, because they are so desperate to get across. So there is a lot of money going into what I would call the kind of externalizing of EU's borders. So, for example, I believe in October of last year, the EU signed the first phase of an €80 million border deal management program, money which will go directly to the Egypt's Coast Guard. So despite all of this, I think people do find a way, and they find a way through desperation, but also smuggling networks. I believe these measures don't stop migration because people are desperate. They just merely make these migration routes much, much more dangerous. The central Mediterranean is the deadliest border in the world, and it's claimed the lives of something like 24,000 migrants. So I believe rather than stopping migration, this EU money and these laws actually make people's lives more endangered while taking the route.
Yeah, and with or without European countries' support, do you think Egypt can stop and deal with these waves of illegal immigration?
No, well, I don't believe it is. I don't believe so. But it depends, what they're interested in. As I mentioned before, there's much less interest in people actually stopping people leaving the country than there is from people coming into the country. I think also Egypt's interests in securing particularly its coastline are political, and it's a means of seeking political legitimacy with the EU and approval for its authoritarian regime. Because actually prior to 2016, there was almost no interest. They had no search and rescue missions, for example, prior to the Rashid disaster. Most of that was done by fishermen.